Welcome back. Here on The Update, we take you around the world on different topics so you are aware of what's going on in the world around you. Now, around the world, there are so many different types or styles of government. And as we just talked about some of the elections around the world, each country has their own way of ruling the land. And you may have heard words like parliament, socialist, communism, and of course democracy, and maybe a few others where you may have had no idea what we are talking about or what they mean exactly. Well, we are here today to hopefully explain that to you and break down the different types of government around the world.
Now, first up is an autocracy, which is also known as totalitarianism, or more commonly as a dictatorship. Now, although a dictatorship can still be run by technically, such as a military, think more like Hitler or Stalin. Those were autocratic and dictatorship governing styles. An autocracy is a country, a state, or a society governed by one person with absolute power. Now, the rulers demand obedience, and they do not take into consideration anyone else's opinions or feelings, and they are not subject to any legal or legislative limitations. The basis of an autocracy is to put the needs of the elite versus the general public. Now, currently in the world, there are still forms of autocracies and dictatorships around. North Korea is a prime example we pretty much all know about. Now, secondly, let's discuss a monarchy. Now, when you think of a monarchy, think of maybe Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom. Now, she and her family, Prince Harry and Prince William, are part of a monarchy. There are different types of monarchies. The overwhelming majority of them today are limited. In a limited monarchy, the monarch, in this case Queen Elizabeth II, would be limited by the laws and governing bodies of the United Kingdom. Now, it's more or less a ceremonial position with her. She's the figurehead. She has little political power, more like she has the power of persuasion, and she does command respect all around the world. Now, meanwhile, the United Kingdom is actually governed by the Prime Minister and Parliament. But there are also absolute monarchies, where the monarch has complete power and no checks or balances in place to rein their control. Those leaders end up staying in power until abdication or death in most cases, and are generally replaced by a family member. Many countries around the world still have these types of monarchies, some with different names, such as emperor, emir, sultan. Some examples of this would be Australia, Canada, Japan, Jamaica, New Zealand, Thailand, and a few others. Now, we're going to go to Caitlin next, who has a few more government styles to talk to you about.
Thank you, Jai. Next up is communism. The most likely country to come to mind is China. Again, as with other systems of government, there are different types of communism. The best definition of communism is basically socialism that removes the right to private ownership, and the purpose is to create a classless society. Okay, so what is socialism? Socialism is a philosophy where production and distribution is owned by the common, collectively by the citizens, and is maintained by the government as a central holding, where everyone in a society is essentially on the same level or class, and there is equal distribution of wealth and resources. However, individuals could still own property. Now, how communism differs from socialism is that most property and economic resources are controlled by the state, and there is no private ownership whatsoever. When it comes to China, they are set up as a communist country with authoritarian government. The countries practicing communism today are China, Cuba, Laos, and Vietnam. Now we will talk about a democracy. Democracy is a system of government in which laws, policies, leadership, and majority undertakings of a state are directly and indirectly decided by the people. Did you know the USA is not a full democracy? It is actually referred to as a presidential republic democracy. Just as with other systems of government, there are variations of democracy. There are differences between a full democracy, republic, which are slight, however, they do exist, setting them apart from one another. For instance, in a full democracy, the power is in the hands of the people, whereas in a republic, power is in the hands of the individual citizens. In a democratic system, laws are made by the majority. In the republic system, laws are made by the elected representatives of the people. Another example, in a full democracy, the will of the majority has the right to override the existing rights And in a republic system, the will of majority cannot override, since the Constitution will protect those rights. Another major difference is a democracy, there is no constraints on the government, whereas republic, there are constraints on the government. Those examples have a few differences, though there are more. So you can see why USA is not a full democracy, but rather a republic of a democracy. Examples of countries with full democracy are Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. So much great information that is crucial to understand our role better. On to you, Ted.
We found the perfect quote from Britannica Online. The hallmark of democracy is that it permits citizens to participate in making laws and public policies by regularly choosing their leaders and voting in assemblies on referenda. If their participation to be meaningful and effective, for true democracy is for it to be real and not a sham, citizens must understand their own interests, know the relevant facts, and have the ability to critically evaluate political arguments. This is why it is our mission on the update here on the HYFNTV network to keep you students and parents informed and educated on who is running for office. And just like that, our time is up. Thank you for joining us here for Around the World on the update on the HYFNTV network. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Jai.
And I'm Caitlin. Thank you for joining us today. And for more shows like Around the World here on the update, make sure you find us at HYFNTV.com or on HYFNTV on your Roku device. Bye for now.